News Radio. I'm your host, Charlie McGrath, along with Eric Lovely, my co-host on this fine Thursday night, the 27th day of September. Wow, this month's almost over, Eric Lovely. 27th day of September, Thursday, and Eric and I were some foul-mouthed individuals. I'm going to turn my mic down because I'm probably overdriving everybody here. Eric and I were some foul-mouthed individuals prior to going on the air because both of us are in the exact same place, which is utterly fed up with just about everything. And, you know, there's nights where I can just tell it is going to be a vent fest. And I got a hunch that that's what tonight's program is all going to be about. And we're going to start it off with the guest host on the program prior to this one, because if you were listening to the Rinse Network prior to Wide Awake News Radio, you heard Larry Sinclair's show, which is, it's a fine program, but he's got a guest host in there talking about, Rick Santelli being what's he going to do, Eric? What's his title going to be? In a Romney administration?
Yeah, Secretary of Education.
Okay,
that Rick Santorum would be, appointed to Secretary of Education, and then Rick Santorum, the ultimate one of the biggest spenders, is somehow going to shut down the Department of Education and return sanity back to the school system under a Mitt Romney presidency.
And you know what? That doesn't tick me off to hear that, because I hear asinine comments by the mainstream media every single day. Every single day, you can drown yourself in the festering sewer of propaganda that comes across the mainstream media. And so hearing something like that wouldn't even faze me. But this isn't just mainstream media. This is the Rinse Network. This is the heart of alternative media. One of the founders of alternative media, if you will. We're on this network, and we're still having people talk like Mitt Romney is a different animal than any other animal in Washington, D.C. And this isn't a slam on Larry's program, because like I said, I think Larry does a great job, and, his political views are his political views, but my God in heaven, do you think, if alternative media is trying to convince you that our problems are because of Barack Obama, and we're going to do better if we get Rick Santelli, or if we get Mitt Romney or Paul Ryan or anybody else in the mainstream camp, red team or blue team, then we're lost, man. We're lost. And you know what, Eric? There is a lot of people in alternative media that are pumping this garbage. Why? Because it's the opposition force right now. There's a lot of would-be folks in alternative media that are really just looking to make a buck. And I know these people. I know it because I've spoke to them. And I've heard their plans. I know what they want to do. They care about generating an audience and then generating income. And the easiest thing to talk about right now is what? Barack Obama. The country's in the crapper because of Barack Obama and his policy. I hear this and I expect it from Rush Limbaugh. I expect it from Sean Hannity. I expect it from Bo News. I expect it from the paid, controlled, red team mainstream media, just like I expect in the controlled left mainstream media, when the red team's in there, to see Cindy Sheehan and Code Pink and all this other fervor being generated that is opposition. But when I hear it in alternative media, it really rips my guts out. Because I know there's charlatans in this industry, just like in any industry. And I know there's good people in this industry. But when I hear the message of the mainstream propagandists come through an alternative media, it makes me ill. It literally makes me ill. It makes me really want to just say this is a fruitless effort. This is going to continue down this same path, regardless of how much effort I put into it, regardless of how many people I bring on the program and how many people we can get to attest to the fact that we're heading off the cliff. We're all heading off there together. We're going to be fighting all the way to the bottom of the cliff where we splat on the rocks below, just like we were in some kind of Acme cartoon studio. We're all heading to the same place together, and we're going to fight amongst each other, even in the community that claims to be awake. It literally brings me to a place of seething anger. I mean, it's time to realize that not only are the battle lines drawn, it's time to realize the game is almost over. The game is almost over. Here, let me check. Somebody sent me a message. I want to make sure we don't have a caller on here.
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah,
okay.
We have a caller from Washington, but you're exactly correct. And for people not to be mistaken, it's not Santilli that they were talking about. They said Santorum.
Oh, okay? My bad. I thought you said Rick Santilli. Okay.
Well, Santilli actually has two bits of intelligence to rub together, where Rick Santorum couldn't find an intelligent thought in the bottom of a bag.
Whatever. Santilli, and I guess I'm going to be raking everybody over the coals today. You're right. I mean, he's the one that came up and he said we need to have another tea party, this, that, and the other thing. But you know what? He's there on the mercantile exchange. It's part of the system. Look, the number one thing that needs to happen in this country, as far as my opinion goes, is for us this fiscal cliff they're talking about. We need to go off of it. We need to go off of it. We need to have this automatic trigger events of millions of people who are on the dole of the government, who are dependent and are a malleable voting block on the government dole, to realize that, look, this is the thin line that's keeping you from the abyss. And this thin line is tantamount to a titanium thread that is controlling you like a puppet. We need to cut these lines, realize that we're in a lot of fiscal trouble, and then not take the solutions that are going to be given to us by these criminals, because they're coming at us, man. They're coming at us from both sides with the solution. And the solution will be tantamount to shackling your hands and throwing you into that lake of fire. That's what's coming. That's what's coming into this country and this planet. We got Netanyahu standing on the floor of the UN today with a Mickey Mouse drawing. He's got his cartoon drawing of a time bomb with a lit fuse showing how Iran, and Eric pointed this out beautifully to me before the program started, Iran is sitting there with 90% to a nuclear bomb. 90% to a nuclear bomb. Eric Lovely, when was the first time Iran was 90% to a nuclear bomb?
Oh, man, they've been 90% since 1991. I mean, there's been projections after projection after projection, horse crap stuff thrown around about them having this infamous nuclear bomb. And you know what? I'll be on the rant too, because I don't really care, because I know who the real, looking at actual, the etymology of words and understanding history and understanding bloodlines, I know who the Jews are. And let me tell you what. These people in Israel who are hiding behind this thing that they call Jewish faith, when most of them are atheists, don't really care. They're committing genocide on their neighbors, butchering, bulldozing their houses, stealing everything in sight, and then he has the audacity to stand on TV and talk about, poor us, when they get this one bomb compared to our 400, we're going to be in so much trouble. We got to kill them now.
Yeah, and you take that and, I had somebody walk up to me today and give me the old elbow in the arm. Hey, Charlie, did you hear what they're saying now inside of Libya? What was really going on with the CIA involvement with this diplomat who was killed and not drug running, but gun running to these rebels who overthrew Gaddafi, and it's a big cover-up. And I'm like, seriously, are you really just waking up to this fact that the reason that we're having riots throughout the Middle East isn't because of this video? Wake up, man. Wake up.
Even Ben Swann, if you look at Ben Swann from Reality Check, who is a Fox affiliate, he's probably one of the best people in the entire Fox organization. He's the only one reporting news. If you look at his latest Reality Check, this is exactly what he covers. He finally covers the question I've had the entire time, and he calls the Pentagon trying to find out, or the State Department trying to figure out where the heck this embassy was in Benghazi, because it doesn't exist. So where did this guy die? Why did he die? He's asking all of these questions about the supposed ambassador that died in an embassy that doesn't exist. What was he doing? What was going on? And he's getting no answers, but we're supposed to believe that some idiot who made a trailer, it wasn't even a film.
Right.
Well, I guess there is a film somewhere, but there's a trailer for a film.
I watched the whole thing, and it's sophomorish at best. And I really I don't believe for one second that the whole entire Muslim religion, 1 billion people strong, are so ignorant and stupid that they would watch this garbage and believe that this is a massive conspiracy. I think this is...
But I can believe it. I can believe it, Charlie, because look at the American flip side. Our population is so stupid with their head crammed up their crack that the majority of them continue to play this red-blue game. I can believe it.
Well, that is a good point. I mean, if we'll swallow this, why wouldn't they swallow that? I guess it's all conditioning from the get-go. We're going to be back with Richard, I believe, from Washington and more Wide Awake News Radio. Eric Lovely freaking out, as well as myself. In about 3.5 minutes, guys. Hang tight. We'll be right back. We're waiting for this boot of tyranny to be placed on everybody's back. And Eric and I were talking during the break about that's exactly the direction we're going to go. People who dare to speak out. And listen, if you were sitting in the chat room and you got scared and you never came back, I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you. Because here's the deal. They can track everything you say, everything you do, and if we think for 1 second they're not, then we're not reading the information that they're letting out for our consumption, to terrorize us, to let us know. We are surveilled around the clock, 24/7, on every mean level possible. I don't care if it's a drone, I don't care if it's your technology, I don't care what it is. If they want to know what you're doing, and by they I mean this control apparatus, wants to know what you're doing, what you're talking about, who your influences are, they have it. They have it. And they're not worried about the vast majority. They're not worried about the ones who are celebrating because the NFL referees are no longer locked out. They're not. They're exactly where they need to be. It's the rabble-rousing, belligerent actors such as myself and Eric Lovely. And unfortunately, guys, the folks in the chat room, the folks listening on Rinse, we all fall into this category because we dare to think. We dare to think for ourselves. We dare to stand up and say, enough! Enough of this crap! I'm tired of killing people. I'm tired of having our people killed. I'm tired of throwing our future away. I'm tired of taking a once great republic and lighting it on fire and pretending I'm spreading freedom around the world. I'm tired of the damn lies and I don't want to take it anymore. I'm not going to take it anymore. So they got something for you when it's time to eliminate this opposition. Eric Lovely.
Well, I'd rant and rave about that, but I'm pretty sure I want to get to Richard from Washington before he has to go through another break.
I'm sorry, man. I just now noticed that we're a minute before the break. So, Richard,
good, let's go to Richard.
Yeah, Richard, get on the phone. We'll hold you through the break. Richard from Washington, thank you very much. Appreciate you hanging out. Richard, we still got you?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I was waiting for the break.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your participation, and we'll hold you through the break. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, before we get to it, I'm the guy that called about the standard process product called Antranex you were going to take for clearing up your congestion. And I wondered if you got a vocal print from Sherry Edwards.
Sherry? Okay, hold tight. We'll address that on the backside of this break. Thanks for holding for us, and we'll answer those questions in about 3.5 minutes. We'll be right back. Hold on one second.
Go ahead.
Richard, hold on 1 second. Give us some preface here of what you're reading, because I have no idea what you're talking about. Give me a little backstory about what is a Garcia brief. What is it? What did he write?
The Garcia brief, like I said, was a paralegal who wanted a court document for sovereigns, if you want to call them that, people contesting on various aspects of their legal standing within the United States corporation, or now just the totally dissolved corporation. And they would have a foundational document that they could bring into the court and not have it challenged. So what this background of the document is, it tells us how we got to where we are now, what stages we went through, and what took place in the American political theater and military theater to get us where we are now.
And you're reading what, page 11?
Page 11.
Okay, go for it.
This form of mental programming is not a theory of mine, but is a diabolical design of the United Nations, as documented within their sinister manual known as the Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, which is used by your United States Army Intelligence, known as, and then he gives the names of two technical manuals for the military and cites those and gives the background and the documentation for those. These manuals have been designed to outline the procedures for the takeover of the American people through the control of the economy in what is known as social engineering. Social engineering is a type of biological warfare that has been continuously implemented on the American public since 1954 for the sole purpose of conditioning and maintaining, and these are the key words, voluntary consent. Consent of what? Consent of usurped liberties in order to implement a socialist one-world government. Now, why I say those voluntary consent words are important is because every time they give us the clue, like you've pointed out in movies or little pronouncements in the press or whatever, and nobody essentially rises up, goes on strike, protests, or sends in petitions or whatever, you have essentially complied with what is in place. So you are supporting it. And that's how they say, or they legitimize what they're doing. Everything now is legal because you've consented to it. That's the nature of the structure we have. And the
I agree with
second
that,
thing I'll
and
read,
we've
which
talked
is on
about that.
page, the second thing I'll read, which is page 30, and they're talking about the War Powers Act of October 6, 1917. But after Roosevelt declared this country bankrupt, the corporation that was formed in the Civil War bankrupt in 1933, he changed the War Powers Act. So, thereby changing the terms and conditions of the enemies of the United States from foreign nations to citizens of the United States. That is correct. The Emergency Banking Act declared the U.S. citizens are now enemies of the United States. By this act, war was officially declared upon the American public. So that's just two of the statements from this document, which, like I said, is fully documented, fully foundational in its background. And I think if you want to focus, you should do a show trying to disprove any of the factual material presented in this document. If you can't,
well, I mean,
exactly where we are.
Let me chime in, Richard. I am aware of the documentation. Some of it has been off of documents that I have aided in writing in the past, because I've been in this particular movement. I also see that it originally started as, well, as you refer to, the religious side of it, was sovereign man on the land, and that's where the Freeman Society and everything came up from. I don't dispute any of it. However, this legal doc that this guy has written is basically a culmination of my work, Menard's work, Johnny Liberty's work, and countless numbers of other people who have basically looked at the law and explained to you exactly where you are. There are, like I've told people for years, there are two distinct citizens in this nation. There are U.S. citizens, and how does that apply, and what does that mean? And then there are American citizens, and there's an actual separation. If you go to Library of Congress, you can understand what Bill of Attainders are, adhesion contracts are, and how they manipulate words in the community to do just what you said, to get a form of consensus through pacification. It's not actual consensus, it's just consensus through pacification. In other words, if you don't disagree, then this is the letter of the law. And yeah, I mean, it's 100% true on those aspects. There are some problems I have with the legal document that he's written, but yeah, this is where you are. You are a commodity.
Richard, I really appreciate you hanging out so long. That's why I gave you basically that entire segment there. I did put the Garcia report, that link, into the chat room. I appreciate you sharing with us. We have another caller on the line, so I'm going to clear the line and then go to Stan on the backside of this break. But thank you very much for joining us. Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, 27th day. Why do I keep doing that? 27th day of September, Thursday. I feel like you guys always need to know the date, I guess. Richard, thank you very much. We were cut off by the break. I don't know if you heard me cut you loose. I said I really appreciate you calling the hole in that time. That's why I gave you pretty much that whole third segment to read that, and I did drop that report into the chat room. And I wanted to give Eric a chance to follow up a little bit on what you were saying there. And look, I don't disagree with anything you said, so I was kind of waiting for this confrontation because you were talking about putting Eric on the spot a little bit. I don't think Eric has anything that he's really going to disagree about with what you said. I have not read the whole Garcia report. I was skimming through it as you were reciting some of that to us, so I appreciate you bringing that information. I mean, of course, and it's topical. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we're in the condition we're in right now. So, Richard, thank you very much. We do have another caller on the line. That's what I was trying to tell you. And we're going to go to Stan here in just a minute. But I wanted to give Eric a chance to respond because he was cut off from the break as well. Go ahead, Eric.
Well, yeah, really, okay. Manufacturing consent it's a multi-tier program, and I'm going to do this as quickly as possible. The education system is the basis for the multi-tiered, what they call soft glove mind control, where they manufacture consent. They program you with specific words to use, specific things are injected into your English language, and you're told they mean one thing, but they really mean something completely different. And they use these words, like if you've ever applied for anything, okay, then the only avenue, the problem that I have with this piece of this actual piece of legal document that they want to use, everything is contracts. And it boils down to this: full disclosure. It is the only piece of contractual law still in existence that can save you. However, you have to understand this, even if you can dispute the applications that you filled out and signed. In other words, you've given consent. The only way to dispute them is full disclosure. You did not have full disclosure at the time of signing the contract. It is the only avenue. But here's my secondary thing for those who are interested in the sovereign movement. If you think you're going to go into a courtroom, win a case speaking out against the government on a federal level, on a Supreme Court level, and you don't think that you're going to be black bagged and toe tagged, because remember, if you don't agree, you're a terrorist. So the court isn't going to save you, because you're never going to get another court date. You're going to go away to Guantanamo Bay or some other little prison, or you're simply going to be shot in the head, or just as Abraham Lincoln did in the time of the Revolution. If people want to really know about history, this is where you're at. These court cases, I'm the biggest proponent of the sovereign movement, because it is the American law. That is the law. Okay? Your sovereignty reigns supreme as long as you don't interfere with anyone else's individual sovereignty. That's the way American law works. But that law doesn't exist anymore. You are now in the situation where you may be killed for what you think. So understand that before you play these word games with these people. They are murderers.
And I just wanted to make this announcement because Brett sent me this message. Richard, your number has been given to Eric, and he'll call you if he wants to chat about this any further. And I didn't hear that in the earlier segment, but Brett told me you'd asked if you wanted to send the number along. So he's got that number, and I'll pass that along to Eric. And I appreciate the call. Let's get to Stan, because we're rapidly running out of time, and Stan 51 has been holding for several minutes. Not 51 minutes, but it feels like that. Go ahead, Stan.
Hey, guys. Hello to Horace and Annan and Center and all the guys in the chat room.
Listen to me, Stan. I almost sent the code word to Brett to dump you, because I thought you said, I'd like to say hello to all you whores. But you said horse.
Oh, God.
You said horse.
Anyway,
okay.
if I left somebody's name out in the chat room, hey, guys, I love you.
I know, I figured it out. I figured out what you were doing, and it's just, you have a drawl, and it caught me off guard, and I thought it was funny, so I shared it.
Drawl. Well, I'm
What's on your mind,
boy. Sir? Anyway, hey,
yes.
guys, I love you all. But anyway, I want to tell you something. You know, I live in a little town in central Kentucky, and they're getting ready to have the vice presidential debate.
Oh, good.
And my wife works up there, and I won't give any names, but anyway, my wife told me to stay away from that side of town. I thought, well, I did. But today I was driving down there, and they got the concrete barriers up, and they've got the whole college, where they're getting ready to do this daggone vice presidential debate. And I was thinking, if I was 18, 19 years old, I'd be down there writing the Fuhrer bunker, and my Fuhrer, I can walk on the side of the concrete, because we were just a bunch of hillbillies, and we just do it for fun.
Right.
And, they've got this whole thing, and here comes, the vice. It's October 11th, I think, when they're going to do this sort of thing. And I'm like, this is going to be a freak show. Town in Kentucky, which is like, and they were saying that we were like something from, a picturesque town in the middle of central Kentucky, and you're going to come down there, and they got these. You go down Main Street, there's concrete barriers, and I sent Warren an email. I said, on one end of this concrete barrier is a monument to a Confederate general in honor of the Confederate soldiers that died at the Battle of Terrible, which is only about 9 miles away. And there was several battles around there. And on the other end, they got this brand new bronze statue of Lincoln that they're so proud of. And then you put this concrete barriers around the whole damn thing because of this vice presidential debate, and I would thank you just to leave us alone.
Well, here's the deal. They're not putting it up there for any other reason
that's what's going on.
They're afraid of
and my wife is right in the middle of
Stan, can you hear me?
And they just want it over with.
Yeah, I agree. Stan, can you hear me?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello?
You got us, buddy? I think we lost
Hello?
Stan. Stan, go ahead and turn him down, Brett, because I don't think you can hear us talking to him. Stan, if you're listening, we could hear you talking, and we were trying to respond with you, but apparently you couldn't hear us. Eric, I want you to talk about this so-called freedom, this so-called republic, this so-called air quote democracy. When we've seen the run up now, every time there's anything to do with a political gathering, right? We see the armored vehicles come out, the drones come out, we see the Stasi come out. We see the beatdowns through alternative media, but on the mainstream, of course, the message delivered is this is democracy in action, and I mean, we worship now, right? The Reichschancellery. This is it. Yeah. We have from on high this almost deity figure, and I'm not talking Obama. I'm talking the executive branch that has made itself into a deity, given itself ultimate power, and anything else, anybody that has anything problem with that or anything to say about it, you'll be locked back in your free speech zones or behind Stan's concrete barriers.
Well, absolutely, 100% completely. And there's several things I want to talk to in this response as quickly as possible.
Yep.
First, you're right. Look at the interviews with the hopeful Mitt Romney. Look at the interviews with the incumbent Barack Obama. Stop looking at them and look beyond them. Go to the reality check and look at all the interviews that's happened between these different presidential candidates and the incumbent. Look at the flags in the background. Where did these flags come from? What is a red dot surrounded by silver stars with the red, white, and blue stripes? What is that? Where did that come from? What planet does this exist on? Okay, and to other people who are thinking, look, in the hearts and the minds of men and women across the nation, you are correct. The Republic lives on. It lives on in our hearts. It lives on in the things that we're trying to do. But on paper, in reality, you are remembering and fighting to restore that thing which no longer exists. You have no constitutional rights. They have been stripped from you. The question is now, what are you willing to do to get them back? What price are you willing to pay to re-seize the day? Carpe diem. What are you going to do between you and your neighbors to have a renaissance where the Republic can be reborn? This is the question, because you can stop telling yourself that it still exists outside of your heart and mind and fellow hearts and minds like you, because it doesn't. Look at the judge's side with indefinite detention and murdering of citizens that don't agree with the president, that don't agree with the bank, that don't agree with all of these said things. And you know what? If there are still people out there listening to this, and you, for some ludicrous reason, believe that somehow some president signed a piece of paper and said, "Oh, I'm not going to kill my own citizens." Okay, Guantanamo Bay. He said he was going to close that, and it was all going to be gone. Yeah, lie. Look at the stopping rendition and so on. Oh, lie. And look at all of his campaign promises. They're all lies. So what makes you think in your right friggin' mind that this little tidbit he wrote down on a piece of paper isn't another lie?
Yeah, well, it is. There's no, what do you think? I mean, it completely is. Eric, we got this election. We didn't even, we ended up at the night talking about barriers and election and freak show, the freak show republic, because that's where we're at. We're at the freak show republic stage. We didn't even get to dabble into economic data. We are going to trudge along for the next 60 days until this thing's behind us. I hate predictions as much as anybody, probably as much as you do, because they go a long way to making you look like you don't know what you're talking about. But I just can't see this lasting much longer before a crackdown occurs.
I don't think it'll be long after the election, my friend. I think you're going to see the news start to tighten.
I agree. Eric, you're welcome to hang out on the backside of our break here. We're going to have Chris from Seeds Now on. He'll be on for a half hour. And then Vinny Eastwood from New Zealand is joining me for the last half hour of the program. So, guys, hang tight. We'll do our longer break here, and we'll be back in a few minutes again with Chris from SeedsNow.com, bringing a couple specials with our show, and I think we're giving some stuff away as well. And then Vinny Eastwood and maybe Eric Lovely, but he's probably going to go take care of his family.